Hello, I'm Michael Bugeja, Distinguished Professor of Liberal Arts and Sciences at Iowa State University of Science and Technology, and this is a brief overview of my research. If you're interested in a more detailed biography, you can go to one of my book sites, Interpersonal Divide in the Age of the Machine, and hit bio, and it'll show you the journals I've been published in: Journalism Quarterly, Journalism, Mass Communication Educator, and so forth. And a little bit about my background in media ethics and tech and social change. This is an addition to that, so you can get to know my work on a little bit more personal basis. One of the things that you should do when you're checking out the research of any scholar is to go to Google Scholar and put that name in and get an H-index on citations. As you can see, my citations are about primarily about tech and social change and media ethics. If you take a look at the number of citations that I've had in this area, you can see that there are a few people above me, but I try to stay on top of my scholarship, and in doing that, I also blog regularly, not only with Interpersonal Divide in the Age of the Machine, but you can also go to Living Media Ethics and take a look at my work in media ethics. These are two book sites, and I try to keep current on that. I have another website here I want to introduce you to. It's very easy to remember. It's called myethicsclass.com. It's a resource for my media ethics students at Iowa State University. It has more than 400 multimedia pages in there, lots of content that we base lectures on. If you want to take a look at my videos, you can go to resources, which is a convenient tab on myethicsclass.com, scroll down, and then you can visit this site that has all of my lectures and topics that I'm currently doing at Iowa State University. One of the important aspects of my work is taking a look at technology from a programming perspective rather than from a consumer perspective. My work, my scholarship, builds on the work of Jacques Ellul, a French-Maltese philosopher. I share the same heritage as Jacques Ellul, that's coincidental. And also Clifford Christian's distinguished professor at the University of Illinois. And I have two basic concepts that I have looked at over the years. One is that technology changes everything it touches without changing much itself at all. In other words, introduce it into the economy, and suddenly the economy is all about the technology. Introduce it to education, it's about the technology. Introduce it into journalism, it's about the technology. Introduce it into education, you get the same result over and over again. We see this happening in our lives. Early on, I wrote about this. One of the first really to take a look at social media. And you'll notice that this is called Facing the Facebook, and the date of publication in the Chronicle of Higher Education is January 23rd, 2006. I actually wrote it in 2005. And at the time, there were some 26,000 students enrolled at Iowa State University, and more than 20,000 had signed up for Facebook, and the faculty and administrators really didn't know anything about it. And I saw this eventually as cutting into the news business and also causing distractions in the wireless classroom. Again, an early date, I documented how students were using technology, not so much to fact check their professor or to add to the conversation via URLs, but browsing, shopping, and so forth. One of my earliest pieces on the misuse of technology is The Medium is the Moral, and that's an Inside Higher Ed in 2005. And Duke at the time gave iPods, which is a music device, to its students, and we're going to lecture through iPods. And I say, this is an immense waste of money because students are going to listen to music when it comes to iPods. They're not going to be listening to lectures. And it is really a dull vehicle when you think about it for interactive messaging. I also took a look at what universities were doing in terms of citations. This is important because citations safeguard the scientific method. For instance, if you're in a medical journal and you're using an internet citation, that citation vanishes, we're losing a primary source. In 2005, when I had just finished Interpersonal Divide, The Search for Community and Technological Age, my first book for Oxford University Press. And then when I went to verify the footnotes, I noticed that all the URLs had changed. And another professor at Iowa State University, Daniela Dimitrova, and I started writing articles about this. And we made the news in the Chronicle of Higher Education. Scholars note decay of citations in an online references. This is and we actually did a book on it. It's called Vanishing Act. And in Vanishing Act, we recommend the digital objective identifier as a replacement for the URLs. That's that little barcode that you see on some scholarly works. I want to show you a little bit of what we did in terms of trying to plumb this out about why technology was being misused so much. And I'm going to show you a few slides here from PowerPoint. And this is essentially, we looked at all forms of communication, human communication from Mesopotamia onwards. And the idea is that all communication had these four elements: durability, storage of communication, portability or mobility, the ability to move the communication around physically, and the convenience of the communication. For instance, a rock is very durable. It can last for millennia. You can't store a lot of information on a rock. It's kind of hard to carry from town to town. So portability and convenience are not very good. Then we had clay tablets. Clay tablets, you can store a little bit more information on those. It's more portable. You can bring them to the temple. Of course, you got to go to the temple to see the clay tablets. And it offered a little bit more convenience. And then we see that scrolls offered even more content, more mobility, more convenience, and less durable than rock and less durable than clay tablets. And then finally, we get the book, which is the ultimate firewalled medium, and then more storage, more mobility, and more convenience. And when you take a look at, when you chart all these types of communication platforms, you see a rock is very durable. That's the blue stripe here, not very convenient at all. And then you see, as we get to clay tablets, the convenience factor is a little bit better. The durability is a little less. With scrolls, durability less, more convenience. With a book, less durability, more convenience. And with the internet, you see lots of convenience, but not a lot of mobility. And this formed the basis of a lot of my research. I started to take a look at what universities were doing with technology and how sometimes they would run into ethical problems. I want to share a couple of articles with you. One is distractions in a wireless classroom. And you can see in 2007, I was documenting that as an everyday occurrence, but also a few years after we had wireless in the classroom, we saw universities that were investing in Second Life. And I have this article and a follow-up article called Second Life Revisited. And what I look at here is that we have traded the classroom to this virtual avatar world by Linden Labs. And the idea was universities were paying thousands or tens of thousands of dollars for virtual avatar classrooms. And my concern about this was the environment of Second Life. There were all sorts of what many people would say inappropriate type avatars. You have to pay Linden dollars, so you're paying tuition and you have to pay Linden dollars and for special features and so forth. And there were some legal issues about professors requiring their students who are paying tuition for a face-to-face classroom to go into Second Life and signing them up where you had FERPA violations or privacy violations that could occur in that particular environment. Anyway, second thoughts about Second Life and Second Life Revisited in the Chronicle of Higher Education takes a look at that as well. I want to finally talk about Vanishing Act a little bit more. Vanishing Act is an important book, not only because it takes a look at how communication theory is built, but also because it looks at computing from a programming perspective. And that's the main thing that I like to do in my research. Anytime someone asks me about Facebook, I say, well, what does Facebook do? Facebook is based on two fundamental aspects of technology. One, it was developed by military, so it surveils you. And then number two, business advanced it, so it sells to you. So at any given time, technology is going to sell to you and surveil you, and probably both simultaneously. So if we take a look at those two theories again, technology changes every system it touches without itself being changed much at all. And then my other theory about communication platforms, and we will always gravitate toward the platform that provides us more convenience. We will give up durability, we'll give up security, we will use that function of convenience. And that is at the heart of subscription journalism and all the declines that we see in the current newsroom. And then finally, that remember the two aspects of technology are to surveil and sell. So always look at the program when you hear how it's going to enhance education, enhance your business. The program will tell you what it's for. Now, my students, by and large, are very good at TikTok. They're very good at Instagram and other social media, but they're using them as consumers. My job as an educator is to help them understand that from a programming perspective, and that is the whole overview of my work in technology and social change and how it segues into journalism. Thank you for your interest in my work, and I wish you well in your own research.